Okay, this is John Patterson. I'll be doing my observation 1 with Principal Lance Alexander of Klein Forest High School. All right, first question, Mr. Alexander. Please introduce yourself and kind of tell us about your campus.
All right, I am Lance Alexander, proud principal of Klein Forest High School. We are located here in Houston on the north side. Enrollment of about 3,574 kids last check. Our demographics are we're 97% minority, 75% economically disadvantaged, but we are a state school of character, the only one named in the state of Texas last year, only high school. Very good place, very proud to be here.
All right, second question. Can you give detail about the student population and the staff?
Population, I just gave the demographics. Good kids. Kids, I think there's over 52 nationalities represented here at Klein Forest. Very diverse group. It is a true representation of what Houston is right now. Staff, we have 287 teachers, close to 500 employees here. Again, very diverse, that range from brand new teachers to teachers with 35 years experience.
Okay, awesome. All right, describe some challenges your campus faces.
Right now, I mean, with everything we had happen last year, believe it or not, we're still struggling with the effects of Hurricane Harvey.
Okay.
A lot of our family had wages that were lost for months and months. Therefore, they lost their housing. We deal with a lot of POAs and VAAs from kids that, multiple families living under one roof. A lot of transition right now between school districts. And so with our population of ESL being very high, a majority of those are Hispanic of nature. A lot of those kids, especially what's going on with the government right now, it's hard once they go see family to get back. So we're dealing with a lot of trying to identify what needs each kid has and how do we meet those needs. So absentee is a problem. I think our attendance rate has dropped 0.8% from last year. And it's basically because of transition from kids that leave our area and head to another that can't get back.
Gotcha. Can you elaborate on the VOE process and what's required on your end as an administrator following up with those?
We have 2 assistant principals that at the beginning of the year, they check the VOEs and make sure that they reside in our attendance zone. We do resident checks with our police department. If they don't, we even do it with administrators to verify that the kids that do say they live in our zone are living in our zone.
Okay, gotcha. Do we ever follow up after the first semester, or is it just
It's continuous.
Okay,
it's continuous. Gotcha. If we send a piece of mail home and it comes back undeliverable,
you go check it out.
We'll do a resident check, and then if we find out that that's not their resident, we'll notify them, and then they'll be withdrawn.
Awesome. Okay. All right, number 4, can you kind of begin to share our campus improvement plan, our CIP?
Okay, and I'm pulling it up right now so I can get in detail with it.
Sure.
Our campus improvement plan consists of 3 goals.
Go ahead and tell us about our campus improvement plan.
Campus improvement plan is divided into 3 goals. A lot of these goals, we're the only high school in Klein ISD out of the 5 high schools that has a true feeder pattern.
Okay.
So what we've done is it's evident that the gaps are not just in the high school. Demographics for our elementary and intermediate schools are very similar to ours. So we're trying to have vertical alignment with our elementaries, intermediates, all the way through high school. So we kind of developed our CIPs together. The first one's kind of campus-based, but it is the Klein Forest family of schools will increase student achievement and narrow the achievement gap by at least 5% in reading using a variety of indicators to indicate improved learning by our students as measured by local, district, state, and national indicators by the end of the 18-19 school year. Measurements and indicators or measures and indicators are STAR, EOC, TELPAS, professional development, T-tests, and then report cards and other data that we collect from the district. This is in conjunction with the intermediates and elementaries again, and what we're doing is trying to be consistent in what data we're looking at, why the data is what it is, and once we know the why, figuring out how to get to the how.
Okay.
The why and the how are our two biggest driving forces in the CIP.
Okay.
We meet on a monthly basis with our CIP, with the CIDC, to let them know where we're at I have at least a weekly meeting with the associates, and we kind of do all of our planning around how we're going to support our CIP. Second goal of the CIP is prior to and throughout the 18-19 school year, KF Family of Educators will identify, be trained, and implement common high-yield, culturally responsive instructional strategies in order to increase teacher expectations for student success and improve student outcomes in local, state, and national measures. And if you look at our guiding documents from the district, we have what we call high-quality teaching. We use those indicators to implement in all of our professional development, all of our PLC, to ensure that we're developing high-quality teachers, and not only developing them, but retaining them, creating measures where they enjoy being here, they feel supported, and they continue to help our kids grow. Third goal is campuses within the Klein Forest family will align their current core values to those of Klein Forest High School to ensure there is a common language and clear expectation for every student throughout the system as it pertains to character education and school culture. As I stated before, we're a state school of character, aspiring to be a national school of character. And what has happened is the elementaries and intermediates have taken our core values to install character, the 11 principles of character.org qualifications for National School of Character into their campuses. So we're all working on that character piece together.
That's awesome. Okay, if you would, can you go back to our CIP goal 1 and kind of elaborate on what are you guys doing in terms of the English department to fix those scores? Okay,
our ELA scores have dipped recently as our ESL population has increased. Looking at it, it's not an ES or ELA problem, it's more of an ELL problem that we're dealing with. These kids are only second year in the country, they have a language barrier, but what we've done with the freshman class is we've double blocked ELA 1, where those kids go 90 minutes of English per day, and they do not have an intervention period. Intervention periods are built throughout their 8-period schedule if they're struggling in biology or Algebra 1 or World Geography. With ELA 2, we've ran multiple reports where we've indicated every kid, every weakness, and every TEAC. We've got their Lexile levels, we know what reading level they're at, and we strategically place those kids in areas of weaknesses and make sure that's where they're spending their intervention period to try to close the gaps there.
Cool. It's also been brought to our attention the addition of master teachers this year. Can you discuss master teachers and how they would help you with your CIP plan?
Okay, so we got this concept, we came up with it last spring. We have hired master teachers that have had prior success as far as teaching ELA 1, ELA 2, biology, Algebra 1, and U.S. history. We've given the master teacher 2 periods a day to teach. We've handpicked the kids that go in those classes. They range from low performing to high performing, and they teach 2 classes a day. The rest of the 6 classes, they're supporting their teachers. They act as the team lead, they're coaching, they're modeling, they're pulling data. They are ensuring that high quality teaching is growing and occurring. And they just kind of help us, give us an extra hand with the teacher beside the administrator as someone that can coach, especially our young teachers, along.
Good. Okay, goal number 2, talking about basically professional development. What, as a campus and as the school leader, what steps are you taking to ensure professional development amongst your teachers?
Well, we're very unique here in that we've got an intervention period. And all 5 of our EOC tested areas also have an extra PLC period. Every Thursday we have what we call PLC Thursdays in the library, where we pick certain topics that are important to not only our teachers but our kids. We use that time in professional development so that our teachers know what's going on. We're transparent with our teachers so they can educate our kids. And we use this time, and the big thing is a lot of this is not administrative driven, it's teacher driven. Just like Mr. Patterson here conducted a PD for the whole school yesterday, we like to use our teachers as the one modeling. For me personally, being the leader of the school, I think they'd rather hear it from a teacher than hear it from us. It doesn't come as much as a directive as much as it is, this is what's working for me, this is why I've been successful, get on board. So, and also too, with ELA, I'll go back to ELA, we've contracted Gayla Wiggins and the visible learning piece, and we've taken a lot of measures to ensure that our teachers are getting high quality guidance, high quality coaching, and they have a model to follow.
Good, awesome. Okay, goal number 3 on the CIP, character education. Can you kind of walk us through what's happening in the classrooms, in the hallways, and in the school?
We got 5 core values we live by. We have a character ed group that is all students. Everything is student led. Our announcements, everything. The students, it's their campus. My philosophy is that we're here to support. The kids are the voice of the school. They live by those 5 core values and the 11 principles of character.org. And we have over 22 task force on campus that tie in to kind of the character thing where all voices are heard. We have students on a task force. We have administrators on a task force. Some of them we have paraprofessionals and custodians. Teachers, it's just everybody that is in this building that has a part in us being successful. We try to create a task force so we can look at those areas. For example, attendance. We go get kids that have had truancy issues, and they're on the task force. It has already changed 4 or 5 kids that we've put on that task force. They went from having over 15 absences in one marking period to maybe 5 absences for the year now. They're getting buy-in. So it's just, the character thing has been everybody's voice. It's not, this is not a place that's micromanaged. This is not a dictatorship. Our philosophy is this is our school. It is in Profile of a Leader, under relationship driven, it talks about we, not me. We embrace that philosophy.
Cool. It's also brought to our attention the concept of restorative discipline. Can you talk about restorative discipline in the school and what things are happening and how that would look like and what that would take place?
Restorative discipline is basically ran by our associate principal and our behavior specialist. They are what they call trainer of the trainers. So they're able to go train people. What we have is when we're having issues, when a class or even teachers cannot work within the norms they create, we'll go in and we'll have a restorative practice lesson with them. And what this does is it gets to know the why, and we get to the how because of this, and it allows people to communicate. And that's the biggest thing with kids these days. They can sit there and type on their phone all day, but they can't talk to you and I. They can't communicate. So biggest thing is teaching them how to communicate, the importance of communication, and also problem solving. How do we solve problems? How do we become resilient against what somebody says, but also respect their opinion.
Good. Okay. Let you catch your breath there.
You're good.
All right. Looking at our campus, where do our students succeed?
Our students that are successful here, and this is data that we've pulled, are involved in extracurricular activities, co-curricular activities, fine arts, athletics, theater, CTE. Those kids that are involved in something more than just the curriculum inside of school, those are our kids that are excelling over and beyond.
Gotcha. What steps are we taking as a campus to promote participation amongst those clubs, activities, and organizations?
It all starts in the middle school. It starts with letting those guys know what's over here. So twice a year we bring our intermediates over, give them a tour. All the clubs and organizations are represented during that tour. We have a brand new $27 million CTE wing that was added. Through that, they can receive up to 16 to 18 hours of college credit through some of those classes. And just promoting that stuff, just making it visible to the community. We've had 3 community events already where we brought people from the outside to look at what's going on the inside. So they know this is what your son or daughter has to look forward to. This is what's going to give them a chance at life.
Good. Awesome. Okay, what areas on our campus does our staff succeed? Where do we, where does our staff, where are they successful?
When I got here January 23rd, 2 years ago, The whole building was broken up into houses. A house consisted of each of your 4 core content, and it tied in one of the either fine arts or CTE. We got here and decided that history teachers needed to be next door to history teachers. ELA 1 teachers needed to be next door to ELA 1 teachers. So we burnt the houses down. We departmentalized the building. We threw in the solution tree PLC model and used the 4 guiding questions to run the PLC, and that has allowed our teachers to go back to what we talked about earlier in Profile of a Leader, the we, not me mentality. I think our teachers now are realizing that they're not just teaching their classes, they're teaching that whole subject with another group of teachers. And for the most part, many of them are embracing the we, not me mentality.
Good, awesome. Who leads the development of the CIP on our campus?
It is collaborative.
Okay.
We have a group that goes at the end of the school, beginning of the summer, and we all get together and we spend a day and we look at it. This past year, the superintendent was even involved in our development of our CIP. We did it as the KF family, and there was a group of us that got together along with Dr. Champion, Dr. McGowan, and the principals and associate principals and team leads, and we all met and we said, what's best for our feeder pattern? And that's how we developed it. It's all teacher buy-in. I mean, you know, we're not going to spit anything out that the teachers don't approve. Bottom line is the teachers are the one that do 99.9% of the hardest work here, and we want to make sure that that's reflective in our decision making.
Good. Okay. What aspects of the campus improvement plan were the most successful, either this year or the past years, and kind of talk about what's worked and maybe what's been a struggle?
Struggle has been closing the gaps as far as our EOC scores and some of our academic-based goals within our CIP. Reason is we've had so much change here with our student body, especially since Harvey last year. At the beginning of this year, we had about 280 kids leave and about 380 kids come. It's just consistency. That's why we're trying to vertically align with our intermediates is, you know, to make sure, especially in the core content and EOC tested areas, that the verbiage is the same, the fundamental practices of the classroom are the same, and there's continuity from one building to the next. And that's been kind of difficult with the turnover we've had.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. What, looking at aspects of the CIP, what's been successful?
Successful has been the character movement. I mean, we've been able to check on that pretty quick. The kids have bought in the goals that we've put, and let me get down here to it. Where are you at? You know, just like I talked about a while ago, Clown Forest will design a tardy attendance task force in order to ensure students are getting and reporting to classes every day. Those task forces that we create, everything involved with character, as soon as we implement it, the teachers have automatic buy-in. We get the right kids on board. You know, we've seen success in our tardies. We've seen a decrease in our ISS, a decrease in our OSS. So it's been the buy-in on, as far as the CIP goes, on that goal number 3, the character goal. That's been our most success so far.
Gotcha. So for those who don't know, so Klein Forest won an award last year. Can you kind of tell us about that and what that was about and what it means?
I'm talking about State School of Character.
Yes.
State School of Character is through character.org, and it's based off 11 principles that they come in and look at. I've been fortunate enough for the past 2 years to go to Washington, D.C. to the National Character Conference, and it's all based on making your school a positive place, giving your kids values, making your kids respect values. It is student-driven. It's nothing led by me. It's something that if you're going to participate in, you've got to have buy-in from everybody on campus. And what happens is you write basically a 50-page dissertation answering the 11 principal questions or 11 principal indicators that they have. They've got questions broken down into it. We provide samples, pictures of everything. Service activities our kids do, what's going on in the classroom. We have Character Mondays where the kids run it. We have a character lesson. It's all student driven. They either participate via video or through an activity done on a PowerPoint, but they're participating in character lessons on Monday. And what happens is you write the application, you submit it to Washington, D.C. to character.org. They'll review it, and the first thing is you get promising practices, State School of Character and National School of Character. The first year we participated in, we were promising practices. The next year we were State School of Character. This year, when you get State School of Character, they send people out for a site visit. So last year we had an elementary principal, an elementary counselor come to a high school, and I'm only saying that because I'm still perturbed that we didn't get National School of Character, but they came to a high school and they spent the whole day. They interviewed me, they did walkthroughs with their kids, and they just, kind of saw how the core values were reflected throughout the building. And to me, it was one of the most positive days of our school all year last year. Our kids, for the most part, are phenomenal every day, but that day, they wanted to make sure that they knew that this is a place that they value and that they care about. And we had some indicators that we supposedly didn't meet, and we did not get National School of Character, which we're hoping to this year. But this year we do not have a site visit. I'll have a Skype interview with people from Washington, and we'll go over what we've done to correct the indicators that they said that we did not reach last year. But it is a big deal. Klein High School was just awarded this past week State School of Character. They were the only high school that received that in the state of Texas, and one of only a couple in the nation that received it, just like we were last year. So it's pretty cool in this journey right now to have a fellow high school that you're very close with those people over there participating in the same type character movement that you're participating in.
Yes, that's wonderful. Cool. What changes in terms of looking at the CIP and campus improvement plan? What changes would you like to see in the future? What would you like to add? What would you like to hopefully take away? Maybe just talk to us about the future and maybe what a future CIP might look like at Klein Forest.
Okay, so this CIP, if you look at goal number 2, you're talking about improving high quality teaching with our teachers. About 5 or 6 years ago, up until 2017, Klein Forest was hiring 90 to 100 teachers every summer. And a lot of those teachers were hired in August. So teacher retention was not there. And when you hire someone in August, usually you're getting somebody that is desperately looking for a job instead of the top candidates that you might get in March or April. In the past 2 years, we've been able to cut our teacher retention rate by 80%. We've had some teams here that had 0 turnover as far as their teams go, and so now they're learning to work together. So in the future, I would like to be able to redo goal number 2, where it talks about high quality teaching, because teachers want to come here now. They want to be a part of it. There's not issues. They're not trying to run from this place, and they feel supported and they want to grow the kids. So that's something that we're looking to eliminate by consistently retaining our top teachers.
Good. Okay. Cool. If you would, talking about teacher retention, sometimes it's a very difficult thing. Sometimes it's not, depending on the campuses that you're at. Can you kind of elaborate on the factors that you feel are most important in regards to teacher retention?
Well, teachers teach because they love kids. Teachers don't teach to go get rich. Teachers don't teach to go on an ego trip. Teachers get into education because they want to teach kids. And it's not my job to micromanage and tell them how they do what they went to college to do. My job is to make sure they have the resources to do what we want them to do within our framework, but allow them to grow how they see fit. We want to give them the autonomy to do their job, just so long if they stay within the parameters of what we have set, not only as a campus, but as a district.
Cool, good. Okay, along those lines, student discipline can affect teacher retention sometimes. What steps are we taking in our school to improve student discipline?
Number 1 is communication, especially with the student. A lot of times a teacher will write a kid up just to get the kid out of the room, and sometimes it's understandable. You've got a classroom of 35 kids, you got one kid acting up. Well, it takes 5 minutes once that kid's had an altercation with the teacher to get the rest of the kids back on task. What we're asking our teachers to do goes back to the restorative piece we were talking about. You got to know the why before you implement the how. 90% of our kids, our school is the most positive thing they have in their life. A lot of them come from single parent families. A lot of them are being raised by grandparents or other relatives. And so all I ask is that our teachers know the why and just give them some type of love. If that kid knows you care, you're going to get that much more out of them. So that's just one thing that we ask our teachers is to understand the why before you start just writing up and sending them out and creating a negative relationship between you and that kid. At the beginning of the year, I told all you guys, you spend the first 10 days of school, I don't care what you do instructionally wise, build positive relationships, create those contracts with the kids. This is our expectations. Let them have the say on what they want their classroom to look like, and then get to know why they're there, what they want out of this. And you know, once they feel comfortable, they're going to respect you. I mean, you're going to have bad days, but for the most part, they're going to want to go to your class. They're going to want to have success, and they're going to want to have a chance at life.
Gotcha. Cool. Thank you. Elaborating on student discipline in terms of hallways, school safety in the school environment, before school, during lunch, during passing periods, and after school. What's that dynamic like at Klein Forest High School, and what issues do you have, and how do you address those?
Okay, that's something that we've been looking at over the past 2 months as a core group of principal and what we call our principal PLC. We send multiple surveys out, not only to the students, but also to the faculty and to the parents. And one thing that has become positive is there's been a decrease in the amount of kids in the hall, and there's been an increase in the amount of kids in the classroom. And the parents, I think we had the highest rating of any high school in the district on the past Gallup poll as far as safety. Safety and security. The parents feel safe sending their kids here. When we were hit by TRE, the tax ratification election last year, we lost 3 hall monitors. We only have 2 here on campus, which a school this size and as many hallways and different wings, that makes it difficult because we have 17 administrators, and I know that sounds like a lot, but this is a very big high school, and everybody else, everybody has their own responsibilities. So getting people out in the hallways, getting people visible, me being on the microphone or intercom, letting kids know, hey, you're not in class, you should be in class. Teachers, close your doors. That's helped out tremendously, keeping our hallways clear, keeping them safe, and letting us know who should be here and who shouldn't.
Good. Okay. All right, next question. Who has the biggest influence on our campus improvement plan?
I would say the teachers.
Okay.
The teachers, and also Carrie Farmer, our Associate of Curriculum and Instruction. She's looking at the data constantly, and she works with the teachers, she works with the CIDC, and we pull the data and find out where the gaps are. And then also Susan Murphy and our RTI team, Dr. Pam Bro, they look at the why and then get to the how, and that's where the CIP comes in. How are we going to fix it?
Mm-hmm.
This is what's happening, now how are we going to fix it?
Good. Awesome. Same question, but in terms of off campus, is there anyone not on our campus that has a significant influence in our CIP?
Oh, I mean, it's everybody off campus. Their job is to support the campuses. Klein ISD with 53,000 students and over 7,000 employees, we have a high infrastructure above us that is built to support us. And my ED, Executive Director of TLC, is Kelly Schumacher, and she's phenomenal. And she helps me look at all aspects of everything and decide what is going into that. And then our data people above them, let them know what's going on. And then we all, there's just trees of support out there that have a say in what's going on here and what happens in regards to the CIP.
Good. Awesome. Okay. Stakeholders. Stakeholders is something that you read about and you learn about when you're going through your master's classes, your graduate level classes, and into your practicum. What do you do specifically to involve the community we talk about all stakeholders all the time. Who are those stakeholders, and then how do you involve those stakeholders?
The good thing about Klein Forest is Our kids are coming from basically all neighborhoods. They're not coming from apartment complexes. I mean, we have several apartment complexes, but a lot of times families move in and out of apartment complexes, but once they get in the house, they're stabilized. So our kids are coming from neighborhoods. We do a lot, and I mean a lot, of bringing those neighborhoods into the school. This is what we have. This is how we're educating your kid. We've got something going on that was very instrumental in us getting State School of Character called Parent University, where we teach classes up here twice a month. If the parents attend so many classes or so many hours, we have a graduation ceremony for those parents at the end of the year. It's become so successful now, we're putting a graduate plan in place for those parents that continue to come. We offer adult ESL and GED classes for our community at night here twice a week. We are in the process of working with Harris County Department of Education to where they've got people training people in culinary, in construction, and welding to get them certifications so they can go out and get jobs over and beyond. We've also got a partnership with Lone Star to where we take parents over there, not only visits for their kids, but for themselves too. And we try to work it out where financially it's feasible for them to, enroll in a college class. We had Greenwood Forest, which is right behind us, and the houses range from 4,000 to 10,000 square foot. Mm-hmm. It's basically an older community. We had a luncheon the other day where we brought those people in. We're allowing them to grow plants for their gardens and stuff in our greenhouse. We're also allowing them to come and use our construction bay and our welding for stuff that they have in the neighborhood. In return, we're asking them to sponsor kids in our CTE program so they can receive certificates so when they graduate from high school, they don't start at the very bottom of the job they're pursuing. For instance, if they're going into welding, they're automatically a level 2 welder once they get their certificate from us. So, I mean, we're using them to help our kids grow. If they know what's going on, they're going to feel invested in it, and it's just going to create a positive atmosphere. Stakeholders, when I was in grad school, stakeholder this, stakeholder that, you got tired of hearing about it, but that's the most important thing you can do, especially when you're in a district and not a single town with a single school. Growing up in East Texas, there was one high school in our hometown. Everybody backed the high school. You automatically had instant stakeholders. In Klein ISD, you're talking probably 1.5 million people that live in this area, 53,000 students. How do you create, there's boundaries. On one side of the street may be Klein High, the other may be Klein Forest. We open our doors up so they know what's going on here, so they feel involved.
Good, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, think about your time coming in as being a principal for the first time, the building principal. What steps did you take to promote and advertise our campus improvement plan within the community and even within the school?
The first year I came in was in January, so I just sat back and tried to absorb everything and then started looking at changes that we were going to make in the upcoming school year. And within that upcoming school year, we had 30, 60, 90-day plans set and goals that we wanted to accomplish. And one of the very first things we did is to promote a positive culture, not only within inside the school, but outside the school. And, these days, 2019, everybody's on social media. And, if anybody that follows Klein ISD and Klein Forest knows that we've had more positives come out of this place in the past 2 years than it's ever had. And, that's been a big component in getting stakeholders in, is using social media to promote the good things that's going on.
Cool, good. All right, 2 questions left. All right. Considering that hindsight's always 20/20, looking back at when you came in as a principal for the first time, looking at the campus improvement plan, were there any changes you would have made? What things did you do well? What would you have done differently?
Okay, the first year I got here, we had a brand new superintendent coming in. He had only been here like 5 or 6 months. Previous years, the CIP was just developed. There was no structure in place on how it was followed. It was just a tool that you were required to create.
Yeah.
Last year, we started breaking it down. We had meetings on it once a month. Now, you've got to check off 3 times a year on where you're at on all your goals. And now, it guides everything. We have CIPs. Our CIP, we have a plan on a page that's on every agenda that every department uses, And we also have plan-on pages that are being printed right now that are going to be posted in every classroom, just so teachers see it and it's visible and they know what's going on, and when we talk about it, they understand where it's coming from.
Cool, good. All right, and then okay, we're back again with Principal Lance Alexander. Kind of last two questions. As a part of our Principal Practicum, I have to create an action plan based on our CIP. Looking at our CIP and our specific areas of need, what would you like me to help with, and what can I help with considering our needs?
Seeing that you're a core content teacher in U.S. history, it would be good if you could look at some of the data we're getting from TLC and be able to look at all of our sub-pops and identify what weaknesses are relevant with one sub-pop as opposed to the other, and then assisting the master teachers and specialists in putting those kids in intervention to ensure that we're meeting the gaps that are created with our kids.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Would you elaborate on what that would specifically look like?
Just getting the data, looking at it, looking at Lexile levels, looking at placements, looking at scores on individual TEKs, looking at CCAs, and trying to find trends. Our master teachers are also data managers that are well versed in how to identify where our areas of need are, and then addressing those areas of need through the intervention period, which means that through enriching students, our kids can travel during third period, our intervention period, to where they go as far as what needs need to be met, and just helping make sure that we get those kids in the areas they need to be.
Good. And then at the end of the action plan, I'll have to provide data that shows that I met my action plan goals. What would that data look like?
That would be the EOC data.
Okay.
EOC is kind of the measurement of goal number 1, 5% growth, and the curriculum side of our CIP.
Cool, good. That was Principal Lance Alexander. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
Hi, Dr. Borg. Hello, Dr. Susan Borg. I hope you're doing well and everything's going great. Make sure you take care of Patterson here. He can be that problem child. Take care. Good to hear your name.